Good morning, walk-off community. Scott Belford here. Just full disclosure, our little disclaimer up the top. Adam, Joel, and I recorded this episode yesterday afternoon before the Brandon Nimmo news broke that he was going back to the Mets for more than $160 million over 8 years. Wild, the amount of term he got. But anyways, we don't talk a lot of Nimmo, but just so that you're aware, we do talk him a little bit, like he's still a free agent, of course. We know now that is not the case. Enjoy the episode, everyone. Cheers. Good morning and welcome to the Walk-Off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. And we have our good friend finally joining us back on the show, Joel. Hey, Kami from TikTok. Welcome back, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
So good to be back, guys. So good to be back. Winter baseball.
For the audio side out there, Joel has removed his Pat Tabler jersey and put up a Christmas tree in its place. He's basically Sportsnet at this point.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I know Pat Tabler wasn't the future source of like analytic information or advanced concepts. You sit there and he'd be like, go out there and get one to hit. And that's pretty much all you hear from him. Yeah. I'm going to miss him. Miss him.
Yeah. Soft hands.
I bought the Tabler jersey because at that point, when I bought it in 2015, I was like, he's the only one who's going to be there 5 years from now.
yeah.
Now 7 years from now, he's gone. And my girlfriend at the time got the Buck Martinez jersey, so she ended up getting the one that lasted just a little bit longer.
They were split. She got Buck in the split. Yeah,
that's right.
Well, let's talk some baseball because lots is going on. Although I do want to start with the Blue Jays because nothing is going on currently. Now, it has been stated their assistant general manager came out, Joel Sheehan, I think his name is, and he said that they are gathering information and they like that information, gentlemen. Ross Atkins just out there like a little squirrel gathering info nuts. And
gathering info nuts.
Which is creating an impatient vibe in Blue Jays land amongst the fans, especially as we watch some of these AL East competitors bolstering their lineup. So I do want to really quickly touch on something that's been going around. I got a couple of DMs over the last 24 hours, and it's all over Twitter as well. So let's get into it. There's this sentiment that Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro are unfireable. And there's all this talk. Can they even feel like they're on the hot seat? So let's talk that a little bit. Is there an actual hot seat here? And what would it take? So let's start with this, Joel. I'm gonna see how you feel, but I think personally, Mark Shapiro is about as safe as they come, as Rogers is undergoing a massive renovation of the Rogers Center, and he's kind of the head of that. He's the president.
Yeah,
do you think Ross Atkins is unfireable?
I'm not going to say unfireable, but I think I'm a pretty stern critic of some of the moves that we've made. I always bring up the lack of lefty bats, especially going into the shift, the removal of the shift. And like, that's something you should have been prepared for. And now kind of playing behind the 8 ball and trying to catch up now is really the best situation for that. But at the same time,
we are finding out it's tough to balance an unbalanced lineup, eh?
Yes, we are finding that out. And I think if you were to go back 2 seasons and say, looking forward, we want the Jays to be like last year. They were competitive up to not last year, the previous season before that. We were competitive up to the last game in 21. 22, we make the playoffs. We get bounced, which was sad. But there seems to be the proper trajectory that you would have expected 3 years ago. There may be some issues. We may not have done all the right moves at the right time, especially trade deadline last year. But I think if you're looking at where the expectations were for the team, I think we're following suit, especially with a young core of players. So, which you can't really say, hey, I want consistency out of, 23 and 22 and 24-year-olds, right? Like there's some growing pains there. And with all of that, I think we're on the right track. So unfireable, no, but still have a couple mistakes left to make before they're canned. I would say that would be Atkins right now. He can make he's probably still going to be there next year, going in no matter what happens, I think.
Do either of you gentlemen play Settlers of Catan?
No, yeah.
I have.
And trade some wheat.
Okay. Well, this is like the analogy that I keep going to with the situation we're in. It's like you start the game, you pick your first settlements, and you can get like the best possible settlements in the board, and that's the foundation, right? But then it does come down to some dice rolls, and you might have positioned yourself in the best possible way. But if 11s keep getting rolled and you're losing out on all your 6s and 8s, it's like it's a little bit out of your hands. And then your hands are a little tied when it comes to trading. And you're like, oh, I have some brick to trade. That should be a valuable asset. But everybody else has brick. So what does it matter? And
that's kind of San Diego comes out of nowhere and builds the longest road. And you're like, what happened here?
Exactly. And they're just trading in 14 sheep for a couple of roads here. It's just... I mean, I want to crap on Atkins as much as the next guy because it's frustrating. But this, like Joel, you touched on the trajectory of this team is kind of what you can expect, or what it hasn't been the best case scenario.
No,
right? Like it hasn't been get to the playoffs one year, next year get to the next round, the next year go to the World Series, and then in year 4 win the World Series. Like that would be the dream, right?
Sure would, bud.
Our numbers aren't getting rolled. Like, who saw what happened in Seattle happening? Right? That collision in center field, that's like you've got the whole mitt full of cards. You're ready to build your city and your extra whatever. And then a 7 gets rolled. You lose half your hand when Bo and George collide in center.
I haven't been here in a while, and I didn't realize how traumatized I still was by that.
I know, it's bad. But
it's a good point, but I will bring up that Joel right here has stated many times what the problem was, and he brought it up already with the left-handed bats, which we did see firsthand in that game 1 against Luis Castillo. I mean, my heart still breaks over game 2, and that is still one of the most difficult losses as a fan I've had to watch, but game 1 hurts. It stings because they beat us in a way that all the pundits said that this team would get beat.
By a superstar pitcher who was pitching on his absolute game?
By a lefty stud that didn't have to deal with any sort of hitter from the left-hand side with any sort of acumen.
And then Cal Raleigh from the left side of the plate gets into one
and wins the game.
I remember how many texts I sent you guys during the playoffs. I was like, lefties are really going off. It was like, like it was, I don't know how much attention the audience focused to that, but I swear to God, like you're looking at the postseason this year, and it's just lefty bats going off for home runs like 75% of the time, and you're like, it feels so out of place as a Blue Jays fan just to see guys swinging from that side of the plate and making that type of contact, and you're like, that's everywhere south of the border. Everybody on every team's got an absolute masher, and I know this is ridiculous, but the trajectory of your bat through the strike zone is completely different when you're standing on the left side. The guys who are late on the right side, you take that same swing on the left side, and you're queuing balls up that are in those positions that you're late for. It's just it's a different bat trajectory.
But this is the whole problem that I have with like harping too much on that, is that add any left-handed bat or 2 to that lineup, we still could have lost. Like it's not.
Absolutely.
It's not just a cure-all solution.
But it's also the scariness of the fact that this year coming up, we have no idea what it's going to be like. There's a huge dice roll on the idea of what is a left-handed hitter. and their numbers are only going to go up. It's like all lefties are on steroids this year, and we don't know what the ceiling is for the potential of them. Like Joey Gallo could be a 260 hitter this year. We have no idea, you know.
So go sign Joey Gallo. I love it. That's
I'm
great.
not saying that,
Great,
but I'm
great.
saying there's.
Out of curiosity, gentlemen, do you feel like this is the most important offseason of Ross Atkins' career?
Yeah.
Is this, I'm not saying make or break, but pretty darn close?
Like, I think a lot of people are under the idea that you have to go out and get somebody to make this team better. To me, it would be a huge gesture to lock down some of our youth stars, you know. If
Yeah.
they, like, especially after this is the time, after a low offensive season last year, this is where you should be approaching those players that you want for a big chunk of time. You look at 11 years for Xander Bogaerts.
I was just going to ask you this, Joel. When you look at Xander Bogaerts, who is Xander 30 or is he 29?
I think he's 30.
So 30, and he gets 11 years, $280 million. Trey Turner
20, yeah,
30,
29.
yeah, 29, 11 years, $300 million. When you look at Bo Bichette, he's got to be asking for that, right?
Bo is better than both of those guys were at 24.
Sorry, just to chime in here for a correction. I don't know what age we landed on for Xander Bogaerts. He is 30, turned 30 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So his contract will take him to 41.
Yeah. Xander Bogaerts and Trey Turner, if you look at their age 21, 22, 23, 24 season, not as good as Bo. Not putting up Bo Bichette numbers. Okay. And there's more to Bo. A little bit more patience at the plate. A little, like, I feel there's defense. I feel the shift that the Jays need to do is move him to second base, especially this year. You know, I think his throw plays much better on that side of the diamond. You make a move for another shortstop like Dansby, or bringing in Carlos Correa would be absolutely insane. But to me, like, I'm such a Bo fan. I know it's ridiculous, but Bo was better last year than he was the year before, at least offensively. In a down year across the league, his OPS plus was higher. I think he went from 121 in 21 to 126 in 22, leading the league in hits both years. We're not in the playoffs without Bo September, you know?
Yeah.
And
no, very true. That's very true.
I feel like you look at Trey. I don't think Trey is going to be a great contract because Trey is insanely aggressive on pitches outside of the zone, kind of the way Bo is. And it tracks badly at about 33, 34, that your numbers just fall off the table when your athleticism starts to go away. Bo's 20.
That's the thing. And that's a great point, man, because when you look at Trey Turner, he's got average bat speed and he has poor pitch choices when he swings sometimes, poor swing choices. And
Yes.
like you just
chase
said,
rate.
those two things do not age well. We see it time and time again. And I'm kind of been looking at baseball this year. This has been a little bit of an anomaly year because in free agency, a lot of organizations did their best over the last 10 years to get away from the paying players for what they did. Exactly. Right? Like look at, and it's because organization after organization learned this lesson. Albert Pujols was a great example of that for the Angels, right? They really bucked up and paid for what Albert did in St. Louis, and it didn't age well. And we're seeing that for the first time in a long time happen. I'm not saying there aren't some examples of that throughout the league, but this year we're watching Judge at 30 get $360 million. We're watching Trey Turner at 30 get $300 million. Again, Xander Bogaerts' contract. Like, these are all guys in their 30s, and I'm not saying that these aren't phenomenal players with some really, really good years ahead of them. But I honestly believe all three of those guys, that last 5 years on the contract, are going to be dog shit. Is that where we're at now? Is this is just baseball at this point? Like, if this is baseball, then I say the Blue Jays just do it.
I think this is a reaction to expanded playoffs, and there's more people that want and feel like they have a shot at the dance, it's driven the whole buyer's market up, if I'm using that expression correctly. Like there are more teams who feel like they have a shot, especially when you watch a team like Philly who didn't claim a spot in the playoffs until the final series of the year, or when you see the Atlanta Braves go on and win the whole thing. Like
Nationals.
there's a real reason if you're the Baltimore Orioles to tell yourself Carlos Correa could be the difference between a banner and no banner. That hasn't happened before. And I think this is the league adjusting to that. It may be an over adjustment, but I think there is a little bit of panic on the owner's side, and especially from the top dogs who have the built-in expectations to be winners, right? Like a team like the Yankees. Shouldn't have been in a bidding war with the Padres and the Giants for Aaron Judge. They shouldn't have been.
No.
I don't think with expanded playoffs, the Giants are seriously considering throwing money at Aaron Judge.
Well, to me, it's really Judge for 360 million. Yankees say we can't take a step back. We need our guy. We need our offensive, spark plug. He's the captain of this team, hit 62, all those things. And we let Teo go. We make that trade on Teo.
How do you feel about that trade, Joel? I know this is long and far ago, it feels like now, but were you on board with the Teoscar trade?
Not one bit. Not one bit. I feel like,
and it's not that you have anything against Eric Swanson, right?
No, it has nothing to do about it. It has everything to do with, I want the guy who can hit the 3-run bomb 150 days out of the year. I don't want the 1-inning guy. Like, we need a good bullpen, but I'm not sacrificing the guy who's playing, who can give me 30 home runs, who can hit a 3-run bomb when we're down, bring us back in a game. Like, that is a rarity. His slugging percentage is 5th, 6th in slugging last year in the American League. You're giving up that for a guy who comes in when you're winning and holds a lead for 1 inning every 3 games. If you think that those things are the same value, no. And if you didn't think that you could get Teo to come back, which is just like, look at the history of Teo on this team. Teo was brought in from Houston as a 6th outfielder, minor league, up and down type guy.
Yeah.
Completely finds himself on this team. Completely finds himself as a major leaguer, as a guy who goes from making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to millions, to multiple millions, to signing a contract next year for potentially 100 million. If you don't think that that's a contract that you can sit down and say, hey, would you like to sign a 5-year, $100 million deal? If you're incapable of that deal, when the Yankees are capable of 9 years, $360 million, that guy is the happiest guy in baseball. That guy is smiling all the time. If you didn't sit down and believe that that guy doesn't want to play baseball for the Toronto Blue Jays and his best friends who he's hugging all the time, you can't lock that guy down. I don't know.
Adam, I can't wait to hear what you got to say.
Have I been doing the pee dance over here, holding my tongue? I got to push back on that after I just listened to both of you go on and on and on about how important a left-handed bat would be to this lineup. And now I'm hearing how great Teoscar's slugging percentage is and how amazing it would be to have that guy hit a 3-run shot to pull us into the lead. Like, where was that against Luis Castillo? Well, he wasn't a left-handed bat, so he wasn't able to do it. So, like, we can't have it both ways. We either need to make room and bring in a left-handed bat, or we don't, and we're going to move forward with Teoscar, because I do appreciate the stats and the production that he has accomplished. But he's in, like, this is his walk year for his contract. It is a decision of, is he our guy for the next 5 years or not? Or are we going to go in a different direction? Eric Swanson has 3 years left on his team control. there's real value in that. So I don't think it's quite an apples to apples comparison to say the value of Eric Swanson and what he's going to do for this team this year versus what Teoscar would have done this year. Like it is a bigger picture than just that, I think. And I don't think we can evaluate this move until the rest of it is done.
And I
right?
agree
Like
with that.
I just cleaned out my office when my dad came to stay with me for a week. My office was a disaster, but the way I clean is I pull out all the junk and I put it into the hallway. And then I find a spot for it as I put it back and I put it away. But if my wife comes home while I've got all that crap out in the hallway and she's like, "Wow, what is this?" I'm like, you got to just wait till I'm actually done.
There's a process going on here.
There's a process here. And that's where we're at with this trade, where it's like, this trade doesn't look ideal. Like, what has Ross Atkins done? Mostly subtraction this year, this offseason, right? That is a frustrating spot to be in. But we've just moved all of our clutter out into the hallway. Stuff's got to go back in and find a place, and hopefully it looks good. When
Joel, in this scenario, you're Adam's wife.
Well, it's scary because you put yourself in a position where you hope moves will be made and people will sign the contracts that you throw out there, right?
Yep.
So it's just like,
back to the Catan reference.
Nimmo
I'm hoping that brick gets rolled. I'm really banking on a good roll here.
Yeah, if Nimmo comes in and we shift Springer over, that looks great. You've brought your lefty in.
So let's stop on that for a second, Joel. Does that make you happy? Are you a little bit more or less critical of the Teoscar trade if it is Brandon Nimmo that winds up coming to the Blue Jays?
Yeah, Nimmo's a great center fielder, lefty, huge on base percentage, moves Springer out of center field, which like Nimmo's 28, 29, so he's not like a 22-year-old spring chicken, a gazelle center fielder you can smash into the wall for the next 7 years. But I feel like you are much more comfortable with that over the next 5 years in center field than you are with you're going to have to move Springer. Springer can't, like, 1 year, what is he, 32, 33?
He turns, he's age 33 season this
year. Going
year.
on 50, like he's, he plays an amazing center field, but that's the problem. Playing an amazing center field at 32 doesn't allow you to play 160 games. It's any play. So that can happen.
Whether it's a Brandon Nimmo or a Lars Nootbaar or a Brian Reynolds, if there is a big move for an outfielder, a left-handed bat, good offensive,
which Reynolds would be nice as a switchy.
Yeah.
Would you just be like instantly okay with the Teoscar trade then, or would you still be like, no, all the
I still
kept him and
I still feel
instead.
I still feel if you want to be competitive, the team has to make a similar move with Bo going to second base. I feel like the offense that was lost in Teo going, I feel those like home runs, 35 home runs, especially in a down home run environment the way we had last year, unless you had Goldilocks balls coming at you 90% of the time. I don't know what
which we will get into, yes.
But in a situation like that, you've lost Simeon, his 45 home run season at second base 1 year, and then you lose Teoscar the next. That is a lot of home run pop to fall out of your lineup.
Sorry, just to clarify, because I know we're going to get roasted in the comments for this. You did say 35 home runs. He hit
Teoscar 25. Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't. I just meant Teoscar's like a 35.
That's potential kind of thing. Okay.
Right. If he plays 150 games, he'll pop 35, 36. That's
yes. Okay.
You slug fifth in the league, you'll pop.
Sure. I'm just clarifying that. I'm not arguing. Let's clarify that before the trolls in the comments section call us idiots.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I prefer the term listeners, but yes.
Yeah. So you've lost potentially from 2 seasons ago where Teo hit 36 and 140, something like that. Simeon hit 45.
32 home runs and 140, but yes.
That's a massive amount of home runs that you've lost out of your starting lineup over 2 seasons, right? So if you're going to lose Teo this year, which we've done, you're going to bring Nimmo in. Nimmo doesn't have close to Teo's power.
No, he'll hit 15 to 20 dingers for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So to compensate for that serious loss of power that you've had over 2 seasons,
you need Bo to hit 40.
second base,
yeah.
Compensates for that, because you don't get so much home run pop out of second base between Santiago Espinal, Whit Merrifield, and Kevin Biggio. How many home runs did they hit? What, 17 maybe combined between the 3 of them?
Gabriel Moreno will hit 5 or 10 home runs from second base this year.
Sure. Hey, that's you want to talk about moving Gabby into the infield? I love that. I think we were
stay on
talking about
topic,
this,
but we could definitely get to that.
Yeah. So to me, to be happy with the moves of moving Teo out, losing Simeon, I think that's a lot of power that keeps you unbelievably competitive. So if that's going to happen, and you bring somebody like Nimmo in, cover that left-handed bat that you need, you still have to make a move on the infield to like a Dansby Swanson. You bring in Dansby Swanson and you're saying, we want to, the reason I'm mad about Teo leaving is because Swanson as a reliever over 3 years gives you 1.8 WAR from the reliever spot every year. And hey, he keeps you competitive with that 1 inning that he pitches. But Teo this year, winning this year now, right now, that's you've given up something when it comes to win now. And if we shouldn't be a seller. Everybody is going into this offseason and this free agency. We're like, we gotta go more than we did last year. So to be at this point, and we've done subtractions, feels dirty. And to risk it on hopeful signings in the future is scary. So to not have done anything and to have hopes that things will magically play out the way you want them to, yikes.
When do we panic, Joel? Should we be panicking right now?
No, when we didn't get Jose Ramirez last year, that's what no.
You're like I've been in a constant state of panic for a year, Scott.
Well,
let's talk. You brought something up, Joel. I want to talk about really quickly here. We can get back to what you're saying. You mentioned now is the time to re-up on the Bo Bichettes and the Vladdy Guerreros of this Blue Jays franchise. At least the 2 of them, you would think, are in line for an extension. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
now
these are the teams with multiple contracts worth $280 million or more. Okay. So the Yankees have 3 with Judge, Stanton, and Cole. Padres have 3 with Machado, Tatis, and Bogarts. And then the Phillies have 2 with Harper and Turner.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously going to need to bolster this lineup in certain places. We just talked about this. They still need a lefty bat. There are free agents out there that would fill that hole. There are trade options out there. But if you are going to go all in on Vladdy and Bo, and I would hope that is somewhat the plan of this front office, or at least locking up one of them long term, because we're watching what's going on with the Red Sox and this homegrown talent that constantly just leaves the city, which is killing that franchise right now. And I don't want to be in the Boston Red Sox spot come 2026. That would be a freaking nightmare, right? How big do they think, you're looking at the landscape right now? Is now the time in this landscape that seems like everyone's getting a ton? Or do you think that the market could correct? Or should they just say, screw the market, give Vladdy $350 million, give Bo $350 million and call it a day?
Yeah, you just give it to them, right? Is that just a button that's just so easily pressed? Yeah, just do it, right? When I saw Xander get 280 for the Padres, who already have a $330 million shortstop who doesn't play that often, when I look at that,
and you're talking about Machado,
at least Seattle did it with Rodriguez, Julio. What'd they sign him to? 230.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay signing Wander Franco. Like this doesn't seem like every team can do it except us. We like to sign
And that's been frustrating, because this is one thing we have seen this front office do that we haven't seen former Blue Jays front offices do, is spend, right? They went out and they did get Springer. They have had, for the first time in Blue Jays history, there's 3 $100 million contracts on this team. But you know what we haven't seen this front office do is the mega deal to lock up their homegrown talent. And I'm just, I'm starting to be doubtful if this is even coming. Where are you at on this?
You're not going to get better guys at this age, right? You're not, if this, you're like, the next crop will be better than the kid who hit 90 bombs in the home run derby and set the record for most home runs as a 22-year-old in the American, like, baseball history. Oh, the 24-year-old who's led the league in hits twice. Like, you don't, this is it. This is the talent that you go long-term on, or you don't, or you stay the team that does the 5-year deals, that stays. If the big teams are doing 350 to 450, we'll stick in the 150 range, and we'll stay in the AL East, and we'll never be truly competitive. And the best year was 2 years ago, and we should have won the World Series then, when we had 40 home runs at pretty much every single spot on that lineup. And we didn't make it because our run differential said we should have had 10 more wins, and we didn't even make the playoffs. And if that's the peak, if that was our peak, and now we're going to go down because we're not willing to say to the, like, Bo is 24 years old. Okay. I said it. He is better than Xander Bogaerts at 24 years old. He's better than Trey Turner at 24 years old. These guys are signing 300 at 30. Why can't we do 300 at 24? What's wrong with us? We can't do it? Is that just, we're not?
I'm muted.
Can't hear you, Adam.
Sorry. Oh. I think the logistics for the contracts of signing these young superstars is complicated. Like, we just watched Juan Soto get traded away from Washington because they couldn't work out a deal. I don't think we've really seen, other than like you mentioned, Julio Rodriguez in Seattle, Wander Franco with the Rays, right? We saw a couple guys with Atlanta. Like, if you're like really young, we have kind of the market has been set. There's a template to follow. Whether you agree with it or not, there is a precedent of like someone to compare it to. But we don't necessarily have guys that are 3 years away from free agency, are super young, are going to be super young, just getting to their prime as they're a free agent. Like, we don't know what the actual value of buying out 3 years of arbitration and then also tacking a mega deal on top of that actually looks like. We haven't seen it yet. Like, nobody's offered a contract to Juan Soto that he's happy with. Right? We haven't seen, like, everybody else has just gotten to free agency or been bought out 6 years of team control. Right? And then I don't even know where we would begin with Bo Bichette. And I think that's got to be part of the stumbling here is, what are we talking about for a contract? 300 million, 10 years for Bo Bichette? Because if I'm Bo Bichette, there's no way I'm signing that. Because that puts me to free agency at 34, and then my next contract is going to be dog shit. It's still going to be good, and yes, I realize I'm poor, and they're going to make a lot more money at me at 34 than I will next year at 34. But I either want to, like, give me a contract till I'm 29, so that I still have another chance at a mega contract, or buy me out till I'm 40. I don't want anything in the middle.
Your hook there, though, is that you're making $50 million over the next 3 years, over roughly in that range, over your arbitration amount.
Yeah.
Right. So in the short term, like, that's your bargaining chip. You wait till that's all done, then you don't, like, not saying Judge didn't sign with the Yankees after all that was said and done, but right now your sway over these players is that we will sign you long-term now. And over the next 3-4 years, you're going to make so much more money.
So what's okay? So let's just take Vladdy for example.
Yeah.
What would be the average annual value that you think Vladdy should get? Do you think 10 years? Do you think 15 years? What do you think for like? Just let's throw a number. Let's break this down.
Bo and Vladdy are very different.
Of course.
Okay. To me, I feel like they project very, very different. I feel Vladdy will hit to 40. I feel Vladdy will be very David Ortiz-like in his late 30s. I feel his body type and the way that he swings is conducive to a longer hitting career than Bo. Bo is a smaller body frame. I feel like if the hands start to slow down in the early
like
30s,
Trey Turner, like we're talking.
Yes,
I
feel
earlier, right.
Right. So I feel like if you're, but that's a 9-year contract. That's a 10-year deal until you're starting to sniff at Bo's decline offensively.
Mm-hmm.
His decline is 9 years from now. Trey Turner's decline could be next year on that type of deal. So what I'm saying is that if Tatis is signing 320, and he doesn't even play, right? They were willing to, they looked at that guy and they said, that guy right now, we can trust him. He's not going to do drugs. He's not going to drive motorbikes and crash and hurt himself. We can trust him to the tune of $1/3 billion. Okay. But we look at Bo, who's played 159 games back-to-back seasons, is the first guy on the field, the last guy off the field, competitive to the absolute end, has it built in him generationally, and if you don't think that that's the guy to throw 320, 330 at, he is an elite level shortstop. He's defensively, no, but that bat is godly. That bat could win a batting title. That bat can hit 30 home runs, knock in 100. He can hit first, second, third, fourth in line.
Sure. I'm with you there. Like Bo's great. He's young. Yeah. The next 10 years of Bo are going to be elite. Like I'm not zero argument for me on that. But where do we start with a real contract? Like what's the actual contract that you think
It's probably going to take what?
I'd
350, 11 years?
I'd go 10 years and 300 million, see where that sits. And like I said, because you got him making way more money over the next 3 years, I would like to hear how that offer plays. You're telling me that Aaron Judge was offered a 7-year, $210 million deal at the beginning of last season. Like, I just feel like, I don't think that those offers are being made by this organization. I don't think they're sitting down and saying, Bo, would you take 10 years, 300 million?
Because Xander's AAV is 25 million a year.
Yeah.
What do you think you need for Bo? 30 AAV? 10 over 300?
Bo is going to kill Xander over the next 10 years. He's going to kill him.
So is 5 million more a year fair to start?
He's going to outproduce 5 million more over the next 10 years. Xander at 35 compared to Bo at 27?
Then how about this? Adam, even. If you're Bo Bichette, do you take 10 years, $300 million? Or do you wait for free agency?
There's no way I would take that offer if I'm Bo, because I'm looking at career earnings. Everything about Bo Bichette's behavior tells me he's a bet on himself kind of guy, right? He turned down the Blue Jays stupid $50,000 raise situation, right? Like he's betting on himself. He's betting on himself having another 16 years of baseball, or at least getting a contract that pays him to 40, regardless of performance. So I'm looking at, you know what, I'll take my 5 mil in arbitration this year, and my 10 mil the year after that, and my 15 the year after that. I'll take my 30 million over the next 3 years. But then I'm going to be 27 as a free agent, and 3 years from now, the market is only going to go up. Like the contracts are not going to fall back down to earth. Or I'm not banking on that happening.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, I made 30 million over the next 3 years. Amazing. That's loads of money compared to the 700,000 I have been getting. So that's loads of money. And then when I turn 27, I'm going to sign a 13-year deal for well over 400 million. Maybe 500 if I have an MVP season, if I have a batting title. that number is going to push closer to 500. I'm not saying that he's going to be the highest paid player in the league. I'm not. I'm saying the market is going to continue to grow over the next 3 years, and he's going to be paid like one of the top baseball players. So if I'm Bo Bichette, I'm looking at least $400 million on a 13-year deal right now, or else I'm not even having that conversation.
It's so wild to me how much this market has changed the way I view Bo Bichette and Vladdy Guerrero. Like, if you take me back even 6 months and I'm like, 300 million for Bo? You can't do that. That's not a thing you should be doing. And now I'm like, frick, maybe you got to. Like, look at the price of going out and getting a high level elite shortstop. It is through the roof. And I kind of look at Vladdy and I'm like, maybe you do it. Maybe you go to him and you say $500,000, 15 years. You're a Blue Jay for life, and just
500 million.
500 million.
Yeah, no, I see. My concept, like Adam,
That's 33. That's 33 million a year, by the way.
And I hear you on Bo betting on himself, but I'm looking at the deal that Tatis signed. Tatis has that mindset. I'm looking at the deal that Rodriguez signed, Wander Franco signed. These guys have that same confidence in themselves, and they're signing them at 21, 22, 23.
Right.
Because
30.
it eats so much of their arb years, it is going to wind up valuing up for them. Yes.
Yeah.
But Bo's not that young anymore, is my point. Like, we missed the window.
That's true. He is 24. But to me, if you put 12 years on a deal for Bo Bichette and you're bringing Bo in at 35, am I so heartbroken that I have 35-year-old Bo Bichette? A hell of a lot less heartbroken than having 41-year-old Xander Bogaerts.
I agree. We should make an offer now, and we should overpay.
It's just,
I don't think he even is caring to hear about a contract that ends when he's 34. Like, it either ends when he's 29 or it ends when he's 39. I don't know why. I think it would be insanity and fiscally irresponsible for anyone who's 24, 25, and 3 years away from free agency to legitimately look at any offer unless it's absurd.
If you're still competitive at 33, like Simeon signed, what did he sign at 31?
Oh, look, you
right?
guys
contracts do not seem to stop.
175 million.
What did Freddie Freeman sign at 33, right? If you are still clicking offensively at 33, you sign another 5. What did DeGrom sign? DeGrom hasn't even played baseball in the last 2 years.
Well, pitchers get overpaid anyways.
Yeah.
Sure, right? Like 150 million at 34. Verlander, 40 years old, 85 million over 2. Like, the contracts don't stop. They don't stop now. Somebody's gonna pay. So
I don't know. 175 million contract at age 31 is nice, but again, it's not 400 million.
No, but when you bank 300, it's 475.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's 475 for Bo Bichette over his career. If he makes that,
I don't think
he would do it.
175 million at 34 years old.
If Bo Bichette puts up 33 home runs as a 33-year-old, somebody's gonna in 10 years, the number of contracts will go up even more. It'll be $250 million for 7 years.
It'll be, honestly, I think the closest thing we're gonna have to a template is Carlos Correa, whatever he signs, because he's 27 right now. He's going to get, in his mind, hopefully a mega deal. He is the best, youngest superstar shortstop. This is the closest comparable we have to what I think Bo Bichette sees himself as. Right? As being on that level.
I swear Bo sees himself as, I know Correa is insane, platinum glove winning god, but Bo, nobody hits like Bo at 21, 22. As Corey Seager did. Corey Seager had like a 170 OPS plus when he was like 21. That's like the only guy who puts up Bo Bichette numbers.
I know, but I'm just saying, from a contract standpoint, this is the closest comparable we have, and I know it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Carlos Correa is going to sign I bet you, a contract that has an AAV close to 40 million.
Yeah, 3. He'll got to sign 340, something like that.
Yeah,
that's what he wants.
Okay.
But like I'm saying, if right now those arbitration years are your bargaining chip to be able, if you don't use those to sign those players now, then we're not that team.
Then they lose them in free agency almost
We're
for
just-
sure. I would agree.
We're just not that team to sign. We'll never be the team to sign guys. If these aren't
So
the two
let's-
guys that you sign now at that age, it'll never happen.
So
Nobody
let's
will
end
ever-
it on.
I
Babe Ruth
agree
will
we
come
should.
along.
I
I-
just think
I
it's
agree.
more complicated than
Let's
just
end it
have
on
them
this.
big
We'll
money.
we'll end the mega contract extensions to Bo and Vlad on the fact that it does take two to dance. I'm all for it. I think you lock those guys up. I agree with everything you've said, Joel. Oh, however, I do think that this front office has been proactive, or you at least hope they have, and that they have had these talks with them, and that there's a reason that it hasn't happened yet. I don't know. It could be their philosophy too. Maybe this front office doesn't believe in mega deals, and if that's the case, that sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end on this baseball scandal that broke a couple days ago, where an astrophysicist did a test on 200 baseballs that was collected from around Major League Baseball. And despite the fact that Rod Manfred came out at the offset of the offseason last year and stated that the ball problem has been solved, there's only going to be one ball used, it has been found that is not the case. There is a juiced ball, there is a dead ball, and then there is a ball they call the Goldilocks ball, which is the ball that is just right. Now, obviously, 200 balls is a small sample size, okay? But I do want to state that Major League Baseball has come out and straight up said, absolutely not. We will not allow an independent third party to do any sort of investigation on this. You just got to trust us. Why doesn't everyone want to trust us? Manfred says from the bottom of his heart. What has baseball ever done to anybody to destroy this trust? Anyways, enough with the sarcasm. I'm going to let you take over here, Joel, because you have talked about this for years, literally since the beginning of 2021, when this kind of was an issue. And what's really interesting about this is players have screamed about the balls for 24 months now. And to find out
since
now,
2017.
and to find out now that the balls, there is still a variance. And on top of that, these Goldilocks balls have all wound up being found, used during the playoffs, which I'm all for. Listen, and I for everyone listening, I'm not saying that if each team is playing with these balls, it's not an advantage in the game. However, in the league, it is a massive advantage, especially when you start getting into free agency. Look at what Aaron Judge just wound up getting, right? And these balls were found at Yankee Stadium in August and September as Judge chased this home run record. And it was found in the All-Star game. Obviously, again, I have no problem with that. But anyways, Joel, go ahead.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Sorry, that was the Goldilocks balls that were found predominantly
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yes.
It's disgusting. Of course, they would say don't do a third party investigation. It's you go back a year ago. It's an anniversary. This one is an anniversary of the Dr. Meredith Wells discovery a year ago, where she cut them open and she found that monthly there were specific balls being used at specific times. That led, like, all I could think about at that time was, they've got two different kinds of balls. They know which ball is which. Okay. They know where the balls are going. This was talked about last season, especially during the Field of Dreams game, and how balls were just blasting off of bats, and how certain games, nationally televised games, seem to be a lot more offensively charged than others. Then all that you could think about in this betting world was insider trading. This is insider trading. That's what this is. You have the knowledge of where the balls are going. I know that this is juice balls are going out to the two biggest home run hitting teams in baseball, and their fifth pitchers are going. I'm going to bet on the over.
And Joel, this is a great point that maybe isn't it being brought up enough, is the sports betting aspect of this. Because, like, look around. We all, I mean, frick, we've got a betting sponsor. They're everywhere. Like, it's driving the game.
Deflategate. Deflate Gate. We're talking about PSI in a football. That was such a story. I don't think sports analysts who are in general sports analysts and do that little cusp of baseball, they're like, I know this, I know what's going on my piece of paper today for baseball. They don't understand what's going on with the balls. They don't make a story about it because they don't know
that it's a story.
The seam height, the core of the ball, the mud put on the ball. All of these aspects have such a insanely massive altering effect on the ball. Okay. And it completely changes the game. 2017, when they bought Rawlings, they created their own, they own their means of production for baseballs. They own how the game will be played, and they get to tinker with it whenever the hell they want. 2019, they hit more home runs in that season than any season in baseball history. Way more, 16% more than any year in the steroid era. 16% more home runs just because they juiced those balls, and all of a sudden opposite field hits that are going 92 miles an hour off the bat or going 15 feet over the fence.
Juice balls, not arms, kids.
The difference between the balls in 2019 to the balls used last year, the dead ones, 50 feet. You hit a ball 102 miles an hour to center field, one ball will go 380, another one will go 420. That's 40 to 50 feet in difference off the exact same impact. Okay, and you're getting over here in PSI on the football. Oh my God, the game. What have you done? What have you done to the honor and the sacredness of football? There's a couple less PSI in this football. You're doing things that turn an out that's 25 feet away from the wall into going 20 feet over the wall and 3 runs scoring. And nobody talks about
it. It's so it's so apparent too that it's being manipulated by the league. I mean, just the chart of where these balls were being sent out. And listen, you know darn well, Adam, you're shaking your head. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, where are you at? Like, do you think we're overblowing this?
You guys give Major League Baseball so much more credit than they deserve. Like this whole, okay, first of all, it is absurd that there is this much of a discrepancy from ball to ball. Absolutely. And the fact that Major League Baseball is like not letting an independent whatever look at the balls is like shitty, but it is, I think, more ego based of like, no, we know what we're doing. We don't need dad checking our homework. Like, we're good. Are you guys familiar with the term like Hanlon's razor? It says never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. And that's
okay.
where I fall on this. Like, is this person trying to ruin it, or is this person just an idiot trying their best? And that's where I fall on Major League Baseball, is that they are not smart enough. I know, like, Pete Alonso has been like, oh, Major League Baseball is manipulating the ball on different contract years for pitchers or hitters or whatever. Like,
that's,
people are getting paid. Like, it's not like across the league numbers are coming down. Money is being spent more than ever. It's just a matter of who's getting it. So I don't think this is actually a cost-saving strategy. The fact that like the Goldilocks balls are showing up more at Yankees games and the All-Star game, that's the Goldilocks ball. That by definition is the ball that isn't dead, but also isn't juiced. So if you were telling me that all the juiced balls were showing up at Yankees games because they were trying to push this home run record for Aaron Judge, that's more of a red flag to me than saying, no, all the Yankees balls were just perfect. They were right where they were supposed to be. And again, small sample size, 200 balls is like nothing.
I think it's disgusting that balls can be sent to specific games, and there isn't a standard. There isn't a league standard ball.
Sure, I agree. That's stupid.
There isn't. If there isn't one standard ball, there's 3. There isn't 2 now. There's 3.
I know, but like there was the same thing with like the COVID year where they played fewer games, and it was like, again, it was just a cost-saving measure. I don't think it was like a thing. It was like, well, we're using some of last year's balls, and this year we're doing balls differently, and we have some left.
Fuck that. Fuck it. They bought Rawlings for $360 million.
They did buy Rawlings.
Yeah.
They bought it for $360 million. This was a plan. Completely planned. Manfred
No,
sat and he watched the home run era of the 90s be the most explosive time financially in baseball. Those home runs, and then he's like, how can I do it so that the players don't get, accused of steroids? I'll juice the ball. And you get 2019, it's such an explosion of home runs. It's so ridiculous. And then
I don't like having to defend Major League Baseball, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But I think it could also just be explained as they bought Rawlings, and then they thought, oh, there are a bunch of redundancies and inefficiencies in this production line. We could bring our costs down from $3 a baseball to $1.75 per baseball if we use this kind of a yarn instead of this kind of a yarn.
3 different kinds of balls?
Again,
how is that more
incompetence. It's incompetence. We're gonna try things out. We're gonna see what works. I agree, a bad strategy, but I don't think that this is a scam to screw the Oakland Athletics so that they are bad and get to move.
Do you think that this is just being overblown then? Like, should this just be swept under the rug?
No,
or
it should not be swept under the rug. It needs to be addressed. There needs to be like the ball needs to get sorted out. Like 3 different balls is stupid. Whatever the thing is, but I think again, this is
it's beyond that.
Look, I love my food analogies. This is a chili recipe that they've added too much salt to, and now they're trying to add different ingredients to try and make it an edible chili again. Like,
yeah,
they're just tinkering way too much. They need to go back to the original recipe, throw out all of these balls, go back to whatever Rawlings was doing pre-2019, and just leave it there.
Go to Spalding.
Sure.
Buy Spalding.
Go to Wilson and have Tom Hanks
go to a company that isn't owned by MLB.
Well, they're not going to do that now. They're not like once monopolies get more monopoly, they don't ever give. Well, okay, let's have Congress break up baseball.
I feel like the Senate should step in and say, "You fucked it up so much here. This is embarrassing. This is ridiculous. You can't be in charge of your baseballs anymore." It's been since 2017. Every year is a bigger mockery than the last.
I love your passion so much, buddy. I really do, man.
There's no way the Senate or Congress does. I understand when they stepped in and addressed like the steroid issue because it's like health and you're influencing kids and kids are going to take steroids. Kids aren't going to hurt themselves by throwing a different baseball. But who could step in is the betting companies of the world, the DraftKings, all these companies that go, hey, you need to get your house in order. Like we can't have betting on your sport while you guys are this incompetent. So if DraftKings comes up, this is what should happen. DraftKings should take over baseball manufacturing.
Sure. Honestly, like it's the idea that someone knows in advance where the balls are going is scary, right? And then you find out later, hey, the balls went here. Well, did somebody know that in advance? Well, absolutely, because they seem to be specified going in certain positions. That's the scarier part.
There's just a hole in the logic that says, well, most of the Goldilocks balls went to the Yankees.
But that means specific balls are going specific places.
Sure,
which is terrifying, isn't it? Isn't that a scary idea?
If that's the case, I just think
on where balls are going.
If someone wanted to manipulate the game, they would send the juiced balls to the Yankees games, not the Goldilocks balls, not the perfectly balanced ones. So that's the hole in the logic that I can't get past myself. Kudos to both of you if you can. I can't. That's my hang up.
If you have a juiced ball that goes 40 foot more than a dead ball, and then you have a consistent ball that's consistent. A game that's played with a dead ball is a different game than a game that is played with a Goldilocks ball and with a juice ball. Sure. And to then send specific balls to a specific team is one of the biggest fucking crazy things I've ever heard of in my life. And this should be the #1 story across the league.
It's not kids. Like there's a lot of language in this episode. I love it.
There's like nobody talks about it. I just don't understand it. This is huge. This should be like just across the front page of every sports section. Baseball, biggest scandal ever.
Here's what I think it comes down to. I think it is we got a bunch of shitty dead balls. Let's just send them to Oakland because no one's going to care there anyways. I just think it's that. Like if there was intentional sending bad balls to spots, it's like, let's just Let's send them to the bat plate. I don't think it was as much. Let's send the anyways. I love
Do you
that we
guys
can
want to
disagree
hear?
on this.
Let's end on this. But do you guys want to hear my MLB conspiracy
Yes,
theory?
please.
Okay, so we all are aware of the World Series goose, right? Remember the goose that
Yep.
landed on the field? Then they chased that goose around. They eventually threw a blanket over him, and the last we saw of that goose was him being shoved into a garbage can as they hauled him to the back of the stadium. I don't think that goose is out there, guys. I think that goose is not on
job.
some farm flying around. I think that goose is gone, baby. That goose is cooked.
Oh, what a
Well,
great note to end on, Scott.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Really appreciate it. You can follow us at Walk Off Podcast on Twitter, the Walk Off Podcast on Instagram. Joel, my friend, always a pleasure
Yes,
having you
great
on the
talk.
show. Give yourself
Yeah.
a little plug there in your most excellent TikTok channel.
Oh yeah. Hey, Kami, I got the side right this time. On TikTok. You guys can come check me out. I actually had, I didn't bring this up, but I have a short film that I wrote 2.5 months ago, and it's doing the festival circuit right now, and it's actually won a bunch of
Hey.
awards. So
Amazing, dude.
Awesome.
Congrats.
yeah, next time I come on, I'll give you guys a trailer for it. And then,
Amazing.
Can't
and then
wait,
the series is finally done too, which took an extra 6 months, but all that stuff's going well. So yeah, come check me out there, and then maybe I'll have some movie stuff for you right away.
Love it.
Glad to hear it. All right, let's call it there. Cheers, everybody. Take care.